have this week. Leviathans will be first pick. And now we'll enter another conversation, Shelly, which is this weird ban phase when you have to deal with something like the way the Warriors were playing, how it's so drastically different from what a lot of these other teams have been bringing, as well as some of the shift-ups that we've seen in terms of meta, right? This Afro ban is actually a little surprising. We haven't seen her banned as often as much, and even the one game that it got locked in earlier was not successful for her.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a few picks in the meta currently that I think are just sort of fear bans where you don't want to deal with the high-end skill cap of that god, so you just take them away. The Oni Warriors, in my mind, are not a team that are going to be that disruptive with the pick. But if you're not first picking it, they don't want to deal with it, and the Leviathans going to take it away. So that's going to be a smart call. The Oni Warriors, however, are not really focused on those healer bans, those meta bans. They're worried about just traditional, hey, Adapting's got a good Thor, Adapting's got a good Mercury, and Shinto was annoying on the bot. But we're going to make sure all of those are gone as well, which leaves open Martikaras. The Manticore has been a hot topic here in the SPL as of today. It seems like a lot of these ADCs are going towards it, sometimes even in the mid lane, but you get that safety, you get that full ability-based build. It does fall off a bit towards objectives, as we've seen. You can't pull Fire Giant as easy, but you bring overwhelming safety and some great burst damage.
The burst has been what surprised me the most, and sometimes, like, off the ultimate makes a little sense, right? It's that acid rain burst that really catches me off guard every time.
The stinger into acid rain is super annoying, and I think the cooldown is what's crazy, because you juke it once, you're like, okay, now I can box, and then it comes again, you're like, I am rooted, and he autoed me 3 times, and now I'm poisoned, and I hate it.
He's just bullying me. I don't know what to do about it. The big question, so we saw it, I believe, in SCC. And since then, we've seen a lot of the SPL players throwing it over into the duo lane. Do you think this is something that Shinto could scoop up, or is that Zap's hands guaranteed?
I'm giving it to Zap just because I think the Stealth Grass in particular gets a lot more value in duo lane. Your jungler can make use of it, your support can make use of it, and of course you as the Manticore can make use of it. So if you just build up a little bit of let's call it a forest, maybe some shrubbery, and then you can back in it, you can use it to go in and out of lane, go to buffs, and it's super annoying to try and keep track of. But, you know, if Shinto was practicing real hard on Marty over the weekend, then yeah, he certainly could take it in. But I'm still giving it to Zap, man. The Vamana has been a very pivotal pick for Adapting. He's been going to it more often than not. Like I said, Golden Blade, he prioritizes farming. He doesn't go for those ganks. He gets early crit. It's a weird style of play that I don't expect from Adapting, but he's been getting to level 20 pretty consistently with this pick, just saying, hey, I'm trying to get to late game. I want to get my itemization online, and I want to stomp away in these team fights.
Yeah, you had actually mentioned it. You know, he played it game 1 and game 2 yesterday. A lot of crit, like very much what you would have expected, like watching of Hamana like 9 years ago at this point, right? Like when Hasten Fatalis was in the game, when it was like, all right, I'm just going to go auto attack and stomp on as many heads as I physically can and then see what happens afterward. Very much that style of play. Fun to watch. We'll see if it finds success, since unfortunately for them yesterday, both of those games were losses, despite the fact that the first one took 53 minutes for it to be a loss. The Morgan also gets locked in, something that we've seen Pagon play a lot, play well, and if you look at the last set, is still feared in the mid lane by a few of these players.
Yeah, I'm curious so far what the transformation's going to be. I think Vamana is always decent until, you know, better choices become available. Maybe even Martikaras. It's a good sort of get out of jail free card by going up into the sky, but also provides an easy way to proc Dark Omen, and you can dive tower effectively. You would think, though, if you are Pagon taking this pick, you want something a little bit better. You want Panatom to give you an easy transformation to go to, and because that Leviathan said, all right, we're taking away Susanoo immediately. We do not want to deal with 2 of those. And also the Bakasura, which, if you're scratching your head why that's banned away, you probably haven't seen Panatom's last couple games, because it was just rude.
It's a bloodbath.
It was rude what he was doing on this Baka
pick.
pick.
Scream in base.
You didn't have to drop him by name.
No, I had to.
you could have just said he camped in base, and that would have been enough, but it's true. And double Circuit is also disgusting. That opens up the doors for all this CC that is already here for the Oni Warriors. They have Nox, they have Circuit, they've got the Morgan, which means they could have 2 Circuits. Yeah, I'm liking the Oni Warriors draft so far.
And the Circuit, as well, one of the few gods that maintained a lot of the anti-heal, in fact, all of the anti-heal, going from 10-2 to 10-3 with a lot of those changes, so 100% anti-heal still on that ultimate.
Wait, I just I thought that was hell support, and I just didn't even think anything of it. There's now a Kepri hovered.
It's been a really long time. Well, I say long time. It's been like 5 games of hell support, right?
Yeah.
Aurora played it a little earlier today, and then other than that, it was Mike, I think, who ran it down, tried it quite a few times. Unfortunately, each of those times not quite as successful as what we saw earlier.
Quig just played it too.
Do you like...
What? No, I don't like Janus support.
I was going to say, do you like hell mid? Hopefully you don't like Janus support. We saw it once. The Leviathans were the team that ran it. This is a Hera. I have to imagine that's going in mid, right?
Yeah, I think they switched it up. I think they might have just been baiting, saying, hey, this hell was always going support.
Yo, we're going to make Trilly look real dumb for a second.
I think I was right to be concerned, the fact that that could have been the play. Decent knock-up opportunities here for the Leviathans, but that means that I'm assuming Vamana goes over to Fine OK, unless he wants to go a Wheelix solo. Because again, Adapting has been taking this Vamana more often than not, but Wheelix tells me that you want to give that over to Adapting. You want to get aggressive early. It's got a good matchup into Cirquette. You can try and pull her out of her ambush. An interesting draft here for Leviathans. I already went on record to say that I like what the Oni Warriors were doing. I do see a lot of gods on the other side, the Leviathans that is, that they have ways of dealing with the Nox. Colossal Fury, you're not going to care if Hell's around and you're not actually targeting her with your silence. You've got the Cleanse, but still, could be annoying if they get all these beads burning with the heavy CC composition the Oni Warriors have.
Now, we've seen this a few times. Sot loves this. Picking up a Hunter, taking it into the solo lane.
Yep.
He did it a lot last year with Chernobog. As far as the matchup goes, whether it is an Wheelish that he could potentially end up against, but more than likely maybe the Vamana, how do you like either of those matchups? How do you like him in the solo lane in general?
I mean, if you're picking Cherno solo, you're not fighting. You're not going for any sort of early kills unless you get some great poke and the enemy solo laner just sticks around too long. So whatever you can survive against is your call. And I think Wheelix and Vamana both have decent attempts at dive, but Wheelix has much more all-in. I think Vamana, if he gets the slow from the Umbrella Ring and Colossal Furies and tries to stomp you down, Chernobog's going to dash away. That's the end of the fight. Wheelix has that burst. You could get a lucky knock-up. You could go for the pull. But yeah, I still think it's probably Vamana versus Chernobog, and then Sot's going to be sitting on her tower for the majority of the game. It does give Pagon a transformation, though.
Yeah.
You could have 2 Chernobogs, and that's the value of this pick.
It feels like Pagon took some lessons from the Dragons team of last year, which is to say, look at this comp. Incredibly squishy. But if we're talking about playstyle, Trelly, this is a team that has been constantly running it down. This is a comp that looks and feels like it should be running it down. And if I'm hearing correctly, what I was just told is the Morgan, despite all the things that I would have thought about this, is actually going over to Sot going into solo lane.
Well, that's a little bit different.
That is a very big difference.
I do like the Morgan solo just because I think you can always find a decent opportunity to go for a 1v1, right? If you get a good stun, you get the Dark Omen off, you transform into someone that can win that fight. If you're in a bad matchup, you say, guess what? Now I'm Vamana, now I'm Marty, and I have this huge ultimate that can really just shred you down and go for damage. So the Morgan solo is a bit different. If that ultimate is down, she's a sitting duck, right? If you have any sort of like a tick damage, like a Crusher on a Wheelix or even Erendite, and you can reveal that stealth and her ult's down, it's just so easy to try and camp that lane. So, I mean, the same sort of problem that Cherno has. You don't want to fight unless you're ready to all in. If not, you're underneath tower and you're just clearing waves.
Well, it is one of the most dominant teams that we've had in the SPL, right? Go back to Season 8, Leviathans, World Champion. Season 9, despite not getting the championship, still one of the longest win streaks was set by them in Phase 3. They just go on an absolute tear through a lot of these teams versus what we have on the other side, the new hotness, the kickoff winners. And we'll see whether or not they can keep that streak going. Of course, mods, get ready for some spam because bringing you game number 1, it's Hindu Man and J-Mac.
Yes, it is. It's me and J-Mac joining you for this one. We've obviously Doug on the spectator once again. Atlantis Leviathans, J-Mac, we got to see them yesterday, and honestly, they struggled, if I'm honest. I mean, Shinto obviously playing a bit on ping at the moment, so causing a bit of a problem for him there. But across the board, they were against the Ravens, and a lot of people had Leviathans as the ones to come out on top. Now, they ran the Vamana jungle there, J-Mac, and this time, it looks like they flexed it to the solo lane here.
Yeah,
Definitely adapting this a Wheelish, I think, is the better call in that regard. Giving it to FineOK would have been fine. Not my favorite pick going into solo if you are taking an Assassin's Stat role. And this also gives adapting a couple of different places that he can make his impact with rotation on that ultimate. Yeah. You can go over to FineOK. Sot going to have a hard time dealing with the mana, dealing with that knockup. So adapting has an easy target at level 5 there. Also has Shinto if he can find the knockup with that Argus, drop it down. It's not a big knockup. It's a very tight window to find that one. But I have confidence at adapting to know the timing to be able to find that pull.
Now with this said as well, the Oni Warriors, this is their first game of the season, so we get to see every team now in the SPL. And I'm excited to see how this plays out, because you did mention the SOT, the Destig 2, regarding picking up the Morrigan in the solo lane. I don't like this matchup into Vamana though, if I'm honest. It's not an easy matchup to sit there in lane as, surely.
No, it's definitely difficult. I almost would have expected FineOK to go something outside of the Axe, but based off the build path we've been seeing of the Vamana,
yeah,
definitely the way to go. Get that Axe of Animosity late game, get a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of boosted power. We saw Haddix running the Shadow Drinker as well to kind of boost that one up. If he would have gone something like Bluestone, would have made it super easy to track SOT in the solo lane. SOT, going back to this one, and maybe this is a throwback you remember, Kiki So Cheeky used to play this pick a little bit back in the solo lane. This was years ago, though. Haven't seen it sometime since then. And SOT, you just got to imagine he's going full power in this one. I mean, this was the playstyle of the Oni Warriors at the kickoff lane. Get 5 gods, only need 1 tank. Everybody else just W key as hard as you can. No better god to do that than the Morgan once at level 5 hits.
Well, there's an early rotation coming out from adapting towards his solo lane already, looking towards SOT. SOT is staring rather than adapting there, knows his presence is around, and very good awareness from SOT to know there's a potential rotation. But speaking of that, look in the jungle right now. Panitom could be hunting for adapting. He'll find the kiss, bit of damage out. No crit available yet for Panitom as adapting takes this trade. Rotations coming in from the solo laners now as adapting tries to continue chasing to Panitom in the jungle, who blinks on in. Panitom now caught in an awkward spot, but just juking around, buying time, and at the end of the day, all for naught.
Adapting just missing out on 1 extra auto to get that Feather Step, a fairly low cooldown on that ability, and has a lot of power even at rank 3 if that's what you're putting all your investment to. But now knowing that adapting has jumped on Suku, only has a single point there. Not sure we would have actually seen a First Blood without the rotation from FineOK or Sot there, but a good effort at the least. Does manage to take the blink away from adapting.
Jungle fight once again between Panitom and adapting there as he falls back. I will say, as we look at the compositions and going back to what you were saying about the Oni Warriors here, J-Mac, yeah, they do seem to be like almost a ranked style of play, and that's kind of the composition they've got for us here. But it does make it a bit of a Christmas present for the jungle, in my opinion, just because as the jungler, you can go, well, I can go to any one of these lanes and probably find kills.
I think that's the idea of the Oni Warriors, is to be able to find a win condition in any given lane, and that was something that we talked a lot about this Oni Warriors team whenever we were discussing them in their early stages as we were going through their playstyle. It's we're gonna draft 4 to 5 gods that any single one of them can be a hard carry for the team. Sot, if he wants to try and find some pressure through this Morgan, can do so. Panatom, if he wants to be the pop-off, especially with the crit now added to Serket's kit, we've been seeing a lot more crit builds going that way. So with the Oni Warriors, they're giving themselves options more than anything else.
Definitely that crit buff for Serket on her ultimate seems to have just brought her back into the meta once again. But I guess more importantly, you know, people are frustrated with Serket being the way she is. I will say at least she's in the jungle now and not in the support role anymore, you know, so she's not going for this tanky build. She is investing in that damage and becoming the true assassin we know she can be.
We've been seeing a little bit of the hybrid build in there, maybe a single defense item.
I mean,
but
every assassin does that anyway, though.
Just about, but definitely a good option with Serket. You do get some damage mitigation with the ultimate whenever you're standing on top of that target, but now adding that crit does feel like we are going back to the old school style of Serket play. I think back to the old days of Lassus sitting in the middle of 2 people next to a mid camp, finding a triple kill because poison dot spreads, you got a Cobra's Kiss Deathbane into the middle of 2-3 people. So I'm excited to see Serket back in the jungle, out of the support, and especially out of wrong use hands when he would sit in the middle of a lane for about 3 minutes at a time, fishing for a kill. Now a little bit more activism on the map for Panatom.
Well, with Season 10 as well, we've seen a bit more farm in the jungle and a bit more neutral farm, I would say, too. At the moment, adapting for the Leviathans has been sticking to this right-hand side, keeping the pressure rolling there and getting those mid-harpies all importantly. Meanwhile, we have seen Pagon getting control of this middle area at least and looking for those left-hand side to try and keep this game relatively even in terms of gold and experience. However, slight lead for Oni Warriors at the moment is adapting, spending so much time on this right-hand side, hasn't really found too much.
There isn't nearly as much that's worthwhile for Adapting to get on this side besides the kill onto SOT, which is what he's aiming for now.
And he blinks on in, finds a route, but a beat is good from SOT. He'll transform in, and straight away Pagon's there to back him up. FineOK falls for first blood, and Leviathans are running for their lives, or specifically Adapting. Panitom in the jungle, though, he might wrap around the back of this tier 1. Or he'll be cheeky enough to go, you know what, is there any farm up here? Great play from the Warriors, though, J-Mac.
And this is something that the Des brought up that could have been a potential transformation target for Sot would have been this Chernobog, but that's always the strength that Chernobog provides this team, is the ability to rotate near instantly to one of your teammates and give you that style of backup. Sot's transformation into the Circuit gives him the most immediate CC that would help him, because sure, you can maybe transform into Nox, drop a silence at your foot, that's great for the immediate, but not for the chase after. So going into the Circuit, finding that double Cobra's Kiss, probably the only reason he really does live through that fight.
And that was Adapting ganking the solo lane twice in a row, pretty consistently over there. FineOK did back him up, but it just didn't pay off, and now Oni Warriors find themselves with a bit of momentum here. Adapting heading in towards the right-hand side once more, looking at SOT, knowing those beads are on cooldown this rotation, and so is the ultimate, so trying to punish SOT with this pick, and he'll find the ultimate off the knock-up. He tries to stealth away SOT, but he has been punished and answering the call 1-1.
This is something that we don't often see from the junglers, is you make a rotation towards one lane, you get their beads, and 9 times out of 10 we see them never come back to that lane for 2, 3, 4 minutes. Adapting realizes, man, my cooldown on ultimate is very short, I can do this again.
Under a bit of pressure here, but has backer with Netroid using that ultimate to give some extra CC, reduce the damage to his support. The buff was invaded there on towards Leviathans, but I do believe the Warriors did pick that one up on the tail end. So invade successful at the cost of an ultimate. All square so far in this one between the two, and the lane pressure in the dual lane starting to, it feels, lean in favor of the Warriors for now. I do feel Marty Chorus takes a little bit of time to really hit his stride in this laning phase.
Typically, once you get to that second item online, there's been a little bit of question as to what it goes. Typically, either the Transcendence into Bloodforge is the call, but Oni Warriors with their pressure, they start the Fury and they melt it.
Well, they're cutting Leviathans with the pants down at the moment, and Warriors will secure. Zapman used his ultimate, trying to find something, and now they're trying to punish at least and find a kill in return for that Gold Fury being stripped away. Rongyu chasing in with his team in backup, and Zap on the way in the jungle. Oh, look at Panitom. He's found a bit of Shinto here, but he's going to be careful because the backup of Adapting was right around the corner. Jungle invaded, and honestly, it's not much that the Leviathans find after Warriors get the Gold Fury.
Warriors definitely making sure to keep eyes on Leviathans, knowing how much time Adapting spent to the right. They make pressure to the left.
And now with the Chernobyls coming on in, it's Zapman under pressure. Beads early, and still Zapman trying to get away. Won't be able to from Pagon. Now Adapting, pulled into the wall by Panitom, and the ultimate there has to leap away. And Warriors find a kill off the back of the Gold Fury, off the back of Leviathans, trying to find an answer to it.
Once that ultimate is down for Zapman, he is so much easier of a target to grab on the Marty. That grass is great, but it's only going to provide you movement speed, not a way to get away from some of these very mobile gods on the side of the Oni Warrior. Panatom, a great selection to try and chase him down, or Jake even to try and lock him down with that silent Shadow Lock combination. Love the pressure that the Oni Warriors are putting across the map, recognizing, okay, Sot, you're not having a great time in right. We're going to try and force some pressure on left, try and help you out a little bit there. More than anything, keep Adapting out of that lane, because I have a feeling if that gank on left didn't start out, that fight didn't break out, Adapting's cooldown would have had a little bit more time to grab SOT before those beads came back up.
You can see now FineOK, because of all that fighting on the left-hand side that went in Oni Warriors' favor, at least FineOK gets a bit of a lead in this lane now, probably about a level and a half to 2 levels for him there at the moment. Has the Golden Blade online, and now a bit more magical defense will help him out in the laning phase. We are waiting for that Vermana to go critical mass eventually this game, though.
Ultimate by Zapman. And beads down for 90 seconds, another target. If Panatom and Jake can find maybe some kind of combination with each other, Rongyu recognizing Zapman may be in danger, goes over. The hell on that cleanse will be nice, but Rongyu's gonna have to make his rotation over now if he wants to keep Zapman alive, because Zapman's still stepping up.
Oh no, he has this up. A good cleanse though coming out from Rongyu to try and prevent the CC that wasn't even there. Follow-up damage from Netroid off the mark with the ultimate. Now Panitom slips away. Awesome Jake on the front line, zoning duties to slow down the aggression from Leviathans, who are now chasing it with Adapting. In he goes, and Paniton pulls him straight into the
Shinto.
team. The damage is too much, but round the back comes Shinto. Drops down Argus, looking for Netroid, who runs for the tier 1 tower. And Shinto gets collapsed on by the rest of the Warriors. SOT just zones away Rongyu and Zapman from the fray. And that's 2 deaths for the Leviathans once more.
Shinto wraps around to try and bail out Adapting, which was in a really bad spot. I like the collapse to Panatom. He was the one standing furthest out from his team to try and stop that one through. But what happens is when Shinto comes around the top side, the Leviathans say, hey, we're done. We've done everything we can. Shinto doesn't get the memo, and the Warriors on their side of the map decide, okay, well, now there's just a Hera here. We can kill Shinto because he's the only threat standing by. The Leviathans end up having to cut their losses. They lose both Adapting and Shinto, and that's giving so much over to the Warriors because SOT still has this time, a little bit behind, but has been able to free farm on this side. And oddly enough, even Netroid has rotated over to get a bit of farm as well.
Yeah, if there's one thing that's catching Leviathans out, though, is this Chernobog, in my opinion, or the ability to move around the map and change the numbers game immediately. I feel Leviathans are definitely seeing 3v2s quickly become 4v3s, where they're not in a position to be able to take on the fight. And because of that, back to the solo lane we go. SOT still just hitting level 10, 2 levels down on Fine OK. And this game from Leviathan's point of view will hold that wrong. Mid could be under pressure again. He's bursted pretty quickly there. Adapting does get a kill on solo lane. Solo Troll, it goes down, but Rongyu in mid is buying as much time as he can, and he's still alive. Shinto drops Argus for defense. Adapting now rotating around the back. Finds the knock up on Paniton, but no further follow-up there.
Adapting using his ult on the right side of the map takes out SOT during all of that rotation, but getting a couple of critical things down. Adapting's Blink and Fine OK's Blink both used at the same time on the right side. Means there's no real engagement, no real follow-up on that chase afterwards. But Shinto trying to play bailout for Rongyu. You saw immediately after dropping Argus on the 2 frontliners, turned his way over towards Panatom, saw that Panatom was still trying to find that option to Rongyu, throws that polymorph at Rongyu's feet to make sure that Panatom can't continue the chase.
That's what you're looking for with Leviathans, though. You have Adapting gank in a different lane when there's pressure elsewhere, and you also survive the gank, which is the most important thing. So Leviathans do tread water for the time being. The next Gold Fury has spawned, or should I say Primal Fury here. And you can see Rongyu trying to hang around this area, contest these left-hand Harpies, but more importantly, keep vision on this Fury. Their pressure at the moment and the fact that Shinto's back in could be an awkward spot for Rongyu to be in. He's CC chained to death and will end up falling down here, and this will open the window for this Primal Fury.
Yeah, Hela's not very tanky without at least 2 to 3 items to stack that one up, so an easy pick for the Warriors sets them up for the Primal Fury. They should be able to take that one with no contest. And this is the benefit of having not just double Hunter, but double traditional Hunter compared to Zapman going this more ability style.
True.
Is with both of them going, could go towards crit. Netroid hasn't done so. But you're able to take out these objectives so much faster than if you have this ability style Marty on the opposite side.
And you can see the Warriors trying to abuse that right now. Rotate straight to this Pyromancer after the Fury 2. Extend their gold a little bit more and get a Runic Bomb. How do you feel about the Runic Bomb, J-Mac? Is it making much of an impact in these games?
So far this weekend, we haven't seen too much of the Runic Bomb utilization. We haven't really seen it be the objective steal or the real necessity to take out these Phoenixes and these towers. But I think it's a nice addition. It's kind of almost a throwback to the old Hand of the Gods way back in the old seasons, where it's almost kind of that 10% execute style on objectives, but being able to use on these structures has made the sieging a little bit easier, especially with the fact that now Fire Giant buff only lasts 3 minutes compared to 4. Fire Giant comes up more often, but getting those Runic Bombs in pockets gives a lot of value towards that objective when it used to just be, well, they got gold, I guess we'll just get a little bit of gold ourselves by getting Pyro. Now it's some value there, adds a little bit of extra complexity to these sieges.
Well, as we look through items a little bit more here as well, both the Leviathans players with Transcendence have nearly finished stacking that up now. Adapting nearly has that online, and realistically, the fact that we've got Bloodforged and more completed items that don't take a while to get online is probably one of the reasons Warriors are finding a better time of this in this early game. Now that Transcendence is online for Zap, he'll start to swing a little bit harder up against Netroid with that Bloodforged. Same can be said for Adapting with the Transcendence up against the Jotuns.
You don't have to wait for those stacks. Even when you think of the old times of building Devourer's Gauntlet versus Transcendence, trying to get stack versus stack, Bloodforge is a lot of power, a little bit of extra movement speed, some lifesteal right then and there. You don't gotta wait. Sure, it's a little expensive to go, but compared to the other lifesteal options, definitely seems to be the stand above the rest there. Getting the Transcendence gives him a little bit of a double dip of a ton of power for Zapman, and this is when he starts coming online.
Adapting's looking to gang, but Panitom knows because Adapting's on a ward and he goes straight in the pit looking for the kiss. Won't find it, however. Silenced in place was Adapting. The beads and silence used to get him away. Final K over here, getting enrolled in the fray for the first time out of the solo lane, and the chase is on to kill Panitom. Down he goes, but what can Leviathans do next? It's a good kill, J-Mac, but there's nothing else they can really get because the Gold Fury and the Pyro are both off, but blinking mid. Final K starting to pop. He's looking at Pagon, forcing him back, trying to get this level lead he's found from the solo lane online for the Leviathans.
And Chernobog is probably the best target that the Leviathans can aim for now. 4-0 on Pagon. He's got a lot of shutdown bounty to him. Jake's gonna have to give up this tower, but Pagon will be there as backup. Tier 1 tower should still fall down. The Leviathans, I don't imagine, keep up this pressure, at least in the left lane. You got tower, you helped out Zapman.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing you can ask for right now, is to find some extra success, not just with Final K on the right, but getting a little bit of extra help on left as well.
Completely agree. I mean, we see Final rotate over, and I'm like, well, what do you get? There's no Gold Fury, so get the Tier 1 tower, find the result at the end of the day. And Leviathans still keeping themselves in this game. As we start to approach the mid part of the game, I mean, 15 minutes, probably, let's be honest, it's 10 when mid-game kind of kicks in. We're starting to see a little bit more of the map develop now. Most of the outside towers down, middle lane still standing. But I start looking towards sieging and team fights already. And I'm always concerned for a team that don't have a true frontline in the Oni Warriors this game. How do they realistically engage? Is it really going to be a Circuit diving in?
It's really a lot of pick potential more than anything else for the Oni Warriors. Find that one person straggling in the jungle, grab them if you have the opportunity to do so. Panatom's even itemized to try and find picks on Final K. Picking up that erosion, he's going to get a little faster once those shields come through. So you have some extra chase option to maybe even just ignore Final K if necessary.
Speaking about that erosion a little bit more, pretty effective this game, not just because of Vermana, which is probably the first thing people will think about, but Hera, who we don't see as much of. That shield going to be nullified slightly by the pickup of this item.
Even the Bloodforge, if Zapman happens
Good
to get a
point,
kill,
yeah.
gets a little bit of a shield there. Panatom gonna go straight for Zapman, gets that ult immediately.
And Panitom now getting surrounded with the support of his team on towards Zapman, who gets some good peel out from Rongyu. Rongyu did a good job of dissuading him. Zapman's still alive. It's only Jake on the front line left. And Adapting wraps around the back, looking for the 3 carries running away. But the health pools are high enough to limp back out. In comes SOT, using his ultimate to turn into Chernobog here. Not a great fight from the Warriors there. Leviathans weathered the storm. The Fury has spawned here. And Final K might be able to wrap around with Adapting and look to pressure the carries left alone.
Pagon and SOT will be standing by. Pagon about a quarter of his HP down, and a lot of that just comes down to Jake steps too far forward by himself. The Oni Warriors recognize that it's just Jake walking at 3 of us. The other 3 are standing so far back. Shinto drops Argus to the back line, throws out the Polymorph as well, disrupts so much of the Oni Warriors' play. They're unable to walk up and assist Jake. I even thought that Jake was going to go down there, but rotation from SOT comes in, is able to bail out his support.
Looks like a turnaround is fair play as Leviathans now look for the Pyromancer after the Fury, just like Warriors did earlier on. And now we're at an even game once again, with both teams having a runic bomb and the situation developing where, well, one team fight can win you the game at this stage. Or at least put you in a commanding lead to do so.
And getting that runic bomb 1 apiece now makes sieges a little bit easier. No real secure on either team as well, so that 1,000 true damage you will get up against the Fire Giant, up against these Furies, could make those dances a little bit more dangerous for either team, especially the fact that the runic bombs can be destroyed as well, so placement of those is very important. But Panatom's not going for this traditional crit style that we've been seeing in the circuit. Sure, you get a little bit built into your kit from your ultimate. As you level up, you get a little bit more percent crit throughout, but is opting towards a little bit more of this bruiser, taking on kind of that pseudo role, something that he did a lot during his days with the Leviathans back on that squad, running those warrior jungles, acting as that second tank when you want your actual soul laner to be a more damage-oriented.
5-3 then as we wait for the next engagement. Everybody just going back to farming left-hand side at the moment. Warriors have a lot of vision across this left-hand side of the map. Pings going down, I believe, from Zapman there saying, hey, Nox is around this area. I have a feeling about it. As Pagon continues to step up, Jake jumps on in and forces Zap to immediately ult defensively. Take into account Zap has no beads or Aegis there, and neither does Adapting after that little play. And neither does he have full life left after Pagon picks up the kill. Now Final K has to limp away. Do the Warriors look at the FG 18 minutes? I don't think so. I mean, there is 2 hunters though. it would be the right time to try and pull it with the man advantage over here. But they need a tank, and no one really wants to tank this, I feel like.
Got 2 hunters, both of them running crit. SOT can turn into a hunter. Now you've got 3 of those that would all have crit. So much easy fire shred for the Warriors. They just need a window to do so. They need one person to tank it. Unfortunately, that one person to tank it is Jake.
Zap's going to be a long time getting here, so it's all on fine, okay, and the rest of Leviathans to keep this one going. The big baby will buy as much time as possible. Get rode by SOT, Sir Cap, for a second. And next up is the FG going down to the Warriors. Rongyu juggled into the sky, then silenced out, but will escape with his life. And Warriors do not continue the chase. They get what they came for. A kill on adapting turns into an FG.
I would have imagined there would have been more collapse to Final K. He got hit with not only the Ong produces any kind of healing he may have had going into that one, but the erosion as well from the transformation of SOT, grabbing that one from Panatom, reducing that shield value at the same time. You saw when he was just standing there by himself was getting, I wouldn't even say maybe a tenth of a percent of his HP at that point. Would have been a good target, but Oni Warriors, because they 50-50 the Fire Giant, still had that Runic Bomb just in case, and do seem to have used it to try and guarantee that one. A bit of a fight between the two teams there. Play it dangerous, play it a little close, but now with Fire Giant on all 5, they can start these sieges. Don't imagine we see any Phoenixes go down just yet. Likely just start aiming for these Tier 1 towers that are still standing, take out these Tier 2s, just get a lot of value of gold from this fire.
Now, if you're not keeping count, I mean, there's only 6 kills on the board for the Oni Warriors here, but Pagon has been involved in 5 and got 5 killing blows so far. This Chernobog mid lane has made an impact on these rotations. He's had good decision-making, J-Mac, more than anything, on when to rotate to these fights.
And that's really the value that you get from that Chernobog. It's something that Des brought up, something we talked about at the very beginning of the game, is having that Chernobog can always turn an unfavorable fight to at least even out or make it much more favorable for your team there. SOT being able to also turn into Chernobog. You said 3v3 could turn into 4v3. Well, now can turn into a 5-man rotation from the Warriors. But also just gives them so much siege pressure. It gives them pressure across the map for, let's say the Oni Warriors are trying to bait around the Fire Giant. They can send Pagon off to the left side. They can send SOT off to the left side. Transform to that Chernobog if he needs to for SOT, get to the fight right away. Or for Pagon, split push and join the map right away after.
Well, Warriors after the FG do get a Tier 1 tower in mid lane with a bit of split pushing from Panitom there. But Leviathans feel confident to be able to defend Tier 2 towers. You saw them group up on that left-hand tower there. And Warriors didn't feel good about it. You can tell the issue with their sieging is going to be a problem on trying to siege the base. In a weird way, they would rather take split fights than 1v1s. I mean, unless you're Panitom, I guess, looking at fine, okay there. But you definitely want to try and split this map apart, make sure you can get an isolated target, and use those Chernobog ults to your advantage.
The Oni Warriors have great Phoenix Tower objective kill.
Yes.
They have 2 hunters, possibly, again, 3 if SOT transforms in as well. But as you were mentioning, and as the build is progressing through, not really somebody to sit there and soak up these Phoenix shots, soak up these towers. It's really only Jake. And when you want your Nox to be the one finding those silences, finding the roots to lock down for your carry, you want him to be a little bit more towards the backside. Maybe keep Final K at bay as well. So it's kind of a bounce between Jake and Panatom, who goes in, who starts a fight. You want to be able to get those beads from Jake, or I should say Jake wants to be able to get those beads so that way Panatom has an easy time, but isn't the easiest thing for either to do.
Pagon under a bit of pressure here. Has his ultimate, uses his Aegis early, then his beads, then jumps in the wall. Still boxing away, hoping for a reinforcements, and he gets some. I do see round the back coming SOT, looking at Shinto of all people, who's getting whittled down. Pagon's still safe as the rest of Leviathans turn round to look at SOT, who Aegis is late, but it buys him enough time for Panitom to come in, find a kiss, find the ultimate, and destroy 2. Rongyu now surrounded by 3 members of the Oni Warriors, and in the jungle, Netro just marching on in. Beautiful play, and that was a bait, in my opinion, from the Warriors. Pagon knew they were all there. Pagon knew that he was buying time for his team to rotate in. And what happens after that? He lives, and now they march on for a Phoenix, or maybe even Zapman.
Pagon stared at them, stood his ground. Zapman and Final K, the only 2 left to defend, and Final K's doing a lot of damage.
This is what you need out from the Vermont, and now he's online, level 20. Beating down these carries who don't have much to stand against him. Jake in the jungle losing a try to get Zap, but Final been abandoned now, and unfortunately didn't do well at the tail end of that. Neturi tanking means Panitom will live. 4 members of the Warriors still standing, but the main thing is the towers are still alive. FG, realistically, only got a Gold Fury and a Tier 1 tower mid. Not terrible under the circumstances for Leviathans.
Now, with the Fire Giant that early in the game, with the lead kind of as close as it was between there, That's the best you can get from the Warriors. If you get a couple of towers, you get a Fury, that's definitely a win for you. Sets up for another Pyromancer as well. Still building up that lead. But all of that, again, starts with Pagon baiting the Leviathans to the left side. He stares at 3 of them. Not only knows, he's watching them walk up to him, buys so much time, sits in the wall as long as he can, immediately channels the ultimate as soon as the dash comes up, and it buys time for the rest of the team to come in. Now, because the Oni Warriors have staggered those cooldowns, those respawns of the Leviathans, it gives them this time to get up for the Fire Giant and start up for that siege. Problem is, again, they don't really have the best sieging capabilities as far as somebody to hold that tower aggro, take that damage for the team. Leviathans have also decent clear. While Hera, not the best at clearing, still a much more traditional mage than something like a Hunter to try and keep out. And Zapman on this Marti Cross has great range to that Acid Rain.
Trying to defend here, Leviathans a little bit late to the party to defend this tier 2 though. Jake knocked to half health by tanking for so long. This tower is on its last leg, so all a bit of poke from 1 or 2 of these Hunters will be enough. Keep an eye on Panitom though, wrapping around the back, looking for a prime target. Who's it gonna be? He misses with the kisses, and Panitom limps back away, but the damage of the tier 2 is done, and Warriors head back to the jungle.
Didn't imagine the Warriors want to stick around too long there. 3 players with no purification beads for at minimum 10 seconds, longest one being 60 going into that siege. Getting tier 2 tower right after fire gives an opportunity to go back, spend up some of that gold. SOT, now with the Polynomicon online, makes the sieges that much easier. You get Runic Bomb plus double Hunter plus a Mori Poly Auto. Makes for pretty easy work on these Phoenixes. Now they've shown that they have the ability to step back. Panatom even diving so far to the backline to try and find those kisses means that there's space creation for the Oni Warriors, and that's the key that they need.
Leviathan's looking to take a fight this Fury here by how many are grouped up. Good wall coverage around, but it looks like Warriors did slip into the pit at least before the Leviathans could find a target. 2 members though do take the Pyromancer for the Oni Warriors on the right hand side and could offer the option once again. And don't forget this Chernobog could always split push mid. You've got SOT now heading down the right hand side too. Warriors are playing their advantage of mobility around the map. Meanwhile, Leviathan's forced to stick together, scared of a numbers out in exchange. Fury getting low now as Oni Warriors take that down, finding small whittling wins along the way. 2 members though on a Phoenix in right. Everybody in Leviathan's in mid. Goodness gracious, that's going to be a quick Phoenix falling down for the Warriors already.
And that's the power that you have for a Hunter with such mobility and Pagon, with Poly from SOT, and with those Runic Bombs as well. Oni Warriors make quick work of the Phoenix, and maybe finding even more. And Tapting's probably going down here.
Yeah, even with the dot damage, it could be enough for other poison to kill him, but he will get as much damage out as possible. The damage did spread to Fine OK, who's just trying to beat down these carries and force them away. SOT hung in the air as long as possible there to buy as much time. And Leviathan's group is 4 on the right-hand side, which is down, opening the door for the Warriors to get mid and march down mid lane for a Phoenix.
It's just a game of distractions for the Warriors. Pagon distracts 3 on left to set up for his team to rotate in. Now you have SOT and Pagon again on the right side of the map, letting their team move in, take a tower and Mao, maybe even take a Phoenix.
Jake dashing in, forcing Rongu back, and the carries of Leviathan to the Phoenix crumbles. Fine OK, now surrounded, pinned in place, CC chained to hell, and Fine OK falls for the 3rd time this game. Pagon with another kill for his name. Zapman, good return damage onto the boys of Jake and SOT there. But still, the Warriors aren't done yet. The FG has waned, but they'll exit with a tier 2 in left-hand side. And now it becomes a much, much trickier task for Leviathans to defend, J-Mac. They are split pushing every single side. How do you defend your Titan and that left-hand Phoenix, which you want to keep up as long as possible?
You've got to keep ward coverage up in the jungle. SOT has been trying to play this sneaky assassin-style play for the last 10 or so minutes of the game. Recognizing that SOT is doing this, Leviathans need to put wards up around their speed buffs. I would even say, honestly, around where those XP camps are between the Cyclops, the Harpy, to know that SOT is moving through this jungle, to see that he's getting set up to work towards one of these Phoenixes. It's still not easy to defend because if you send SOT or Pagon, they just jump back into the fight right away. But knowing a little bit ahead means that you can send somebody to that side and at least force that ultimate out. Probably the best one to try and get that out would be either Adapting or Fine OK, the most mobile of that squad, but it's just so difficult for the Leviathans. This is their best place to fight, is out of the base and at fire, but there's not a single person for the Leviathans who can step up to the Warriors.
Not at all, not at this point. So FG, for the 3rd time this game, going the way of the Warriors here. I'm already thinking of the Leviathans in game 2 because I felt like they instantly draft Martichorus this game. They're confident in that Hunter pick. But what do you do about the Chernobog? It feels like the Chernobog has become a nuisance this game. Not just him alone. However, him having 2 ultimates because of the fact we've got a Morrigan too, is that something you ban away? Is it worth throwing away a ban? You're letting an Afro slip through or something like that instead of Hercules? Do you really need to, or do you have to draft differently against this team?
It really feels bad having to ban a Chernobog when he's not considered one of the top, I would say, 3 to 5 hunters right now, but this is just the Oni Warriors playstyle. They're playing a ranked style of mentality. I'm going to be the hero of my team for every single member of the team. It's that mindset and kind of that ideal that we kind of instilled onto this team jumping in.
Just look how confident they are, though. The player cams, they're all just calm and calculate, going, yep, I'm winning. You don't see them, like, outlandishly talking a lot. They're just like, yep, everyone's going well. All 3 Phoenixes down. Wait for the next fight. And now all the Phoenixes are gone. What do the Leviathans do? 5 on 5 in the base, maybe the best option for them, because they force the Warriors to channel into them at least. Shinto knocked to half, Jake jumping on him once again, forcing Zap into the sky, focuses on Netroid from Finalizing and Zapman. Zapman gets all in by Panitom as they do get the kill on Netroid. They need the other carrying Pagon though, these double hunters causing problems. All the while, the minions will whittle down the Titan at least. Warriors are forced back for now.
Just such awkward target selection for the Warriors. SOT still playing the Cess and finds Shinto and nearly takes him out.
He
does at the end.
And with that, it could just be the game for the Oni Warriors here as SOT falls back. The Titan's still at half health. 4 members of Leviathans are pushing them back out. Warriors don't like the fight here. Rongu getting in the mix, trying to reduce the damage they can do as Fine OK front lines as long as he can. But Ruin in place, followed by an additional Ruin and a silence is enough to bring him down once more. And the right-hand Phoenix spawns, but for how long? Zapman will fall down, adapting limps away, and they will clean up as many kills as possible here. The Warriors are having fun at Leviathan's expense, and it's back to the drawing board for Leviathans here for game 2, as the Warriors stay undefeated since their inception, technically.
So far, immediately I'm seeing that Jake has become a problem on this Nox. It's something that he was running in Season 9 as much as he could, now running it again here in Season 10. While that wasn't the only problem on the team, in those late game team fights, when you have 2 hunters and a Morgan, 1 shadow lock on a person is death. Final K, as soon as his immunity wore away from his ultimate, he tries to step back up, push back 4. Jake says, wait, I've got shadow lock. You can't escape this. Your ult is down. Everybody turn and burn on Final K. He melts within a few seconds. I think if you want to take down this comp, banning the Chernobog doesn't feel great. It helps the problem. I think getting rid of this Nox and forcing Jake on something he's not as good at, not as comfortable on, might be one of the better ideas you can go for.
I mean, I wonder, what would you see Jake go to then? I mean, obviously he can't do the engage that way, but he could always play a defensive god. Suppose a Ymir could come back out, I guess.
Ymir,
Capri.
Yamoja, Xingqian, while maybe not as great right now, does work against some of the hunters that are popping up as well. Jake's got a lot of gods. Nox is definitely probably one of his best ones right now, and after a performance like that, I don't want to see it on him again.
The Leviathans seem to have come in with a game plan today, but not worked out so far against the Warriors and their almost ranked style strategy. Will they bounce back in game 2? We'll find out after the break.